You can give me a test, any test, and I'm going to pass it every time. Why? There's a way to test. And it doesn't matter if you know the curriculum. You have when it comes down to it, if you stick to what I'm going to show you right now, you got a 50-50 chance of always getting the answer right. And here's how we do it. You read the question once. When the roads are slippery, you should. And we read it again. When the roads are slippery, you should. We're not going to answer it. Now we're going to do what? We're going to eliminate it. So we read the question twice and we eliminate the obviously wrong answers. And they're going to be stuff that sticks right out to you. So let's go over it. When the roads are slippery, you should drive alongside of the vehicle. You're high. You smoked a fatty because you shouldn't be doing this, right? So we're ruling this out. We eliminate that. We'll leave this one alone a minute. When the roads are slippery, you should stop and test the traction while going up hills. You're high again, right? Yeah, you're high. Because you can't do this and people are going to be beeping your horn on the button. What about this? Decrease the distance you look ahead of your vehicle. So let me say this. This word never comes into play with CDL training. We're always increasing. So keep that in mind right now. So we're never decreasing, we're increasing. So we've ruled this one out, we've ruled this one out, and we ruled that one out. Now, I haven't answered it, but it answered itself, right? This is how you test. This is how you get perfect scores or 90s, right? There's your answer, right? Obviously, this stands out more than the rest anyway. Keep the KISS method in mind, right? Keep it simple, stupid, you know what I mean? It's always, you're not looking for complicated, you are looking for strategic simplicity. Strategic simplicity, and that is this right here, right? So if you know the road is wet, you've got to gradually make turns because if not, you're going to lose traction. You're going to start to slide, right? That's the answer. And again, all we did was read the question twice and eliminate first. The answer came up on its own, correct? We didn't really answer it. Oh, there you go, then you get some one-on-one there. See what I mean? We talked to the, okay. Yes, so 17 weeks from now by somebody who don't have CDL. And I've reamed NVA's ass about this so many years, I finally had to give up. Because I had one guy who they got rid of, Jake Gonzalez. I'm like, your instructors are giving my students a hard time because my students know more than they do. They don't have CDL. He said, oh, no, they don't. Yet all my instructors have CDLs. I'm like, no, they don't. How many names you need? I'll give you all you want. And they finally got rid of it. So that hasn't changed. So I want you to prepare yourself while we're on that subject. There are going to be typos and mistakes at MVA in the computer system. What you're trained here as being the right answer may come up as not the right answer up there. That's something that should not, and most of the time does not, keep you from passing. It's just, well, for instance, a question in air brakes. You're going down a hill, and I'm using this even though we're not in air brakes. I'm using an example. You're going downhill and your brakes fail. What do? What do you think is the number one thing you're going to do? You lost your brakes on a downgrade in a 70,000 pound vehicle. What are you going to do? What's the first thing you're going to do? Yeah, I know. So our answer here that I teach you is what? Look for an escape ramp. What's an escape ramp?
There's no cars.
So it's a divot off to the side, usually on an upgrade. Usually goes uphill. I'm going to show you videos. Made of loose material, so when you hit that at 60, 70, 80 mile an hour, I got a guy hits one at almost 100 in a tractor trailer. Crazy. but it allows the vehicle to sink in its peak ground, so it starts to sink up to about the doors on that truck, and then you eventually stop. You have to be towed out. It saves your life, the truck, and the cargo. So the answer that we train in here is look for an escape ramp. What do you think they want? What do you think they want up there for that question? Look out the window for another option to stop.
What?
And I'm on the phone with this guy. This is a representative at MVA. And as he's explaining to me something that is not even in my curriculum, I just go like this. Because I can't fix stupid. And he's trying to tell me that this is what I should, that we're not changing that in the system, that's what the answer is. And I'm like, well, it's not in my curriculum, it's not in anybody else's curriculum. Therefore, I'm not going to train it, because what does that lean credence to? If you're going down a hill and you lost your brakes, and looking out the window for another option to stop is what? What is that giving you?
Options.
Huh?
Options.
Well, it's giving you options, but it's also putting you what? In a panic mode.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
You're going to understand. We're going to go over. There are some. So let me say this: the number one thing is to look for an escape ramp. There is some other options, but we don't voice it like that. Look out the window for another option. Stop. You should already know your options. That is a futile answer that I didn't agree with then, I won't agree with now, and I won't agree with it 20 years from now, because it's wrong. However, we will put in place the options that are already going to be available to you. If you go downhill and your brakes fail, it's bad. It's a little scary, but the options are already there. You just got to implement them. First option? What was the first option?
Find a empty.
Find a damn escape ramp. Okay, so maybe you got a mile or two down the road and a couple of bad turns before you get to the escape ramp. And what happens as you're going downhill with your speed?
Increase.
It's going to increase. Remember what I said about everything is increased. We'll talk about that. So I know I'm bombarding you a little bit. Justin, you've got to use trucker GPS. Why?
Trucker GPS.
Because of your height of your vehicle.
It's going to take you under bridges you can't get under.
Right, the height of your
It's going to put
vehicle.
you in turns that you can't successfully complete. And
Right.
you're going to be jammed up. And one thing I don't do for anybody in a commercial vehicle, I don't back off. It puts you in a stalemate all the way around. We'll go over that.
No
Under certain
need.
circumstances,
Google Maps, you
everyone
can't
will be
do.
back on.
Something like
All right.
that. I have to listen to it myself. Because I'm
Same scenario. You're going to read it again. Which of these statements about brakes is true? Which of these statements about brakes is true? So let's stop right here. When you see questions that are true, false, if they're looking for true, I'm looking for false. It's called reverse engineering the question. So with that being said, we're going to eliminate by looking for false. So we're looking for true. They're looking for true, but I'm looking for false. The heavier your vehicle, or the faster it's moving, the more heat the brakes have to absorb. You stop it, you leave that go. Brakes have more stopping power when they get very hot. This is false, so we're getting rid of it. So everybody knows we don't need heat on our brakes, right? What is that called? Brake fade. Brakes have faded. We do not need heat on the brakes. That's the number one problem. So this is out. That's a false statement. So I'm looking for false again. Brake drums cool very quickly when the vehicle's moving fast.
No.
No. False, it's out. So if this is out, and we just ruled that out, so all these are out, there's your answer. Did I answer that?
just cutting something.
No, all I did was eliminate by using a technique, right? So again, which of these statements about brakes is true? They're looking for true, I'm looking for false. I already knew this was a true statement, but I wanted to back myself up by going here. This is out, and we already know it can't be all these because we ruled one. If you rule one out and you have this as a possibility, it has to go, right? So 1, 2, 3 are out, and here's your answer. So the heavier vehicle, the faster it's moving, the more heat the brakes have to absorb to stop. So heat is not a good thing, it's a bad thing. You want to keep your brakes as cool as possible when you're running. This is why we want to get into truck stops when we can, hose our tires down. We're going to get into that later on. All right, questions on that? See how this works now? This is not like anybody else is going to teach you. Now, believe it or not, and it, who here's in their 50s, right? 40s, 50s? Back in high school, even back then, 90%, well, 85% of the time, the answer was what? C. So what I'm going to tell you now is if you get up there and you exhaust all your options, you've done your due diligence and you still can't come up with the answer, pick C. Because odds will be in your favor that that will be the answer. Now, you can't go up there and pick C for everything. You got to do your work, right? All I'm saying is if you've exhausted everything, pick C. Right? Number 3. All right, so we just talked about this, truck escape ramps. And anytime you see a statement with a double dot, they're just looking for straight definition. So truck escape ramps should not be used if your brakes fail on a down brake. What's escape ramp for?
It should be used if the brakes fail.
Yeah, so this is out, right? It should be used because if your brakes fail, you want to be looking for that ramp. So this is out. Cannot be used by certain types of heavy vehicles. It's for all heavy vehicles. So if this is out, that's out, and we just ruled that out. So these all are out. There's your answer. Remember I said it helps to avoid damage to the vehicle, damage to your personal body, and the cargo, right? Most of the time. Now, I get questions asking, can you take escape ramp in your pickup truck? Or your little Nissan Sentra? You
No.
could. No, you could. If you're in your car and you're going downhill
And my brakes fell out?
and your brakes go out, can you take an escape ramp? You can, but they probably won't find you for about a month. Because you're
But
going
I'd be
to
allowed.
you're going to be a skeleton inside the car because you're going to be underneath the gravel. You'll sink below. So if I go into an escape ramp in that tractor right there, the pea gravel is going to be halfway up the door. Most of the time, you got to pull out the window. If you're in your car, you're probably going to be over the roof, which means you're going to be stuck in your car. I'm just joking. You could probably get out, but you're going to have a hell of a time about it. You have to kick your window out, and then all the gravel's coming in, then you have to crawl back out. But I wouldn't venture to do it. I mean, you could. So anyway, you rolled these out systematically because they're not true, and that is. Oh, by the way, rules. So it's 10 after 10. Usually around 10:30, we take a 15-minute break. It's 15 minutes. Because just go up and get a coffee. Some people like to go to the store, they may close. But try to make sure you're back here in time. Because again, we know that's 3 hours. I'm going to check with him now. Vernon usually does 10 o'clock. He does 10:15. I do 10:30. And you will also hardly have any of these. All of these, all of the above. They don't give you a lot with that. So you're going to get, I'm actually going to teach you harder here than you get up there. Here you're going to get 1 question, 4 possible answers. Up there you get 1 question, 3 possible answers. So if you eliminate just one, you got a 50-50 chance, right? But you'll be way above that by the time you get there. But there's no clock on your permit. However, there is at your final testing, and we'll get into that later. Right? So yeah, not a big deal. Again, this is the question.
Eliminate.
Do it this way. Watch it.
And repeat that again. Eliminate.
Read the question once. Read it again. That way, your mind is you're getting it hit subliminally. Reading it again, and then eliminate the obviously wrong answer. There's going to be, and it'll stick right out to you. So you get rid of those first, and you've reduced your choices down. You know what I mean?
Right.
And you may not have to answer. You may answer yourself, like we have. Right, number 4. That's simplicity, right? So what's the simplest thing here? Let's take a look. You're starting your vehicle in motion from a stop. As you apply power to the drive wheels, they start to spin. You should. So you're starting your vehicle in motion from a stop. You're at a dead stop, and all of a sudden, you're spinning, which means you have no traction. You should do what? Take your foot off the accelerator. We're eliminating now. Take your foot off the accelerator. Take your foot off the accelerator. Apply the brakes. Press harder on the accelerator. Or try lower gears. Now they're giving you some other crazy options. So I want somebody to tell me what to get rid of. What's the first thing you want to get rid of here? Very good. You don't need to do this. That's out. What about here?
No.
That's out.
Gotta go, right?
Right.
If you're already spinning, doing this is just going to fry the tires, right? So now we got these two out. What about this?
Keep that.
That's later, all right? I'm going to do this first, then I'm going to do this. So there's your answer right there. There's the KISS method, right? If your wheels are spinning, you ain't got no traction, just get off the gas. She'll re-grab the road, and then you can try lower gears so you can start off a little slower, right? Right here. So this is technically a right answer. So here's another thing. MVA may give you a question that has 2 right answers. My job is to show you how to know what the better right answer is. And in this case, the better right answer, right there, right? Everybody got that?
Yeah.
I'm reverse engineering now. So do I lightly tap the horn when passing? Yeah. This is common knowledge. At night, turn on your high beams before you start to pass and leave them on. All right. Drive carefully to avoid a crash.
Yes.
Assume the other driver does not see you. Let's stop right here and talk about that. You don't assume jack, because guess what? Ain't nobody sees you. That last lady is terrible. I was teaching over the other day. In Indiana, this girl, 20-some years old, in a little Ford Ranger, school bus, boy on the side of the road, stop signs out, red flashing lights, unloading kids. She blew by the bus, and the little girl had one of her brothers in each hand. I get choked up every time I talk about this, but it's necessary. She's walking across the street, and she's a big girl mowed them down, killed the whole family. So when they asked her if she had anything to say, her response was, I didn't see yours. How do you not see a big block of yellow cheese on the side of the road with a stop sign and flashing red lights out? So never assume that the other driver sees you. You have to be running the show. Run the gamut. Professional driver takes control of his environment. Don't assume, he sees me, I'm going to pull out. Nope. You got to make sure, right? So, which is not one of them. So what's the answer? Not one of them. We already picked out what we would do. 4. Which is not one of them. 4. No. See how hard these are? We are going to do this. Assume that he does not see us. We got it. Look, none of that. So,
T.
these are hard. These are a little harder. I implore you to slow down. When you get a question, this is why we read these choice books. Fire Madison has several things to do with pass the bill. Which of these? A lot of times they'll have that word in bold, in tall letters, and you'll know right away. They'll give that much to you. A lot of times they won't. So in this case, if this wasn't in there, we'd have 3 good choices. But that's not the case. They want the bad one. That's a bad one. When you pass, what do? If I'm behind a guy and I want to go around him, I'm going to tap the horn, pull the high beams, I'm going to move left signal, go around him. Halfway through the pass, I cut the high beams. You cannot leave them alone. We'll talk about that later. You got areas you can't use high beams at all. You got to run. What's up, Mike? Good. Questions on that? So again, this is what's not suggested, what you should not be doing. Everybody doing that? All right, cool. All right, number 7. So now we're talking about downshifting. We're not gonna, I'm gonna give you a lot of insight into shifting gears. I'll give you some time on the simulator. I only use the simulator to show you how to shift gears. However, that's not necessary in this class for you to get your CDL, because you're gonna test out the automatic. It's the easiest way to get you going. All right, so before we talk about this question, I want you to write this little phrase down. Everything we do is before the event. Everything we do before descending the hill, before hitting the turn, before going to the shoulder, before getting off the beltway, before getting in the vehicle, everything is before the event. And then we'll get to the question. Okay, so which of these statements about downshifting is true? Which of these statements about downshifting is true? Again, they're looking for true, I'm looking for false, right? When you downshift for a curve, you should do so
Before you enter.
So
That's
here's
true.
your answer. So we'll stop right there, because this one is the right answer. They're looking for true. We don't need to go any further, because that's an absolutely true statement. If I'm in the right lane and I want to get off at Route 40, I'm on the Beltway and I'm getting off Route 40. Right signal. If I got gears, I'm going to downshift, move over to the merge lane. 1, 2, 3 on the brakes. I usually do 3 firm hits. Back off. I hit the turn right about here. Accelerate through the turn. So let me say this. If you're braking in turns and you're shifting in turns, you are doing it wrong. We do not brake in turns, we do not shift. If you're going down 702 in your car and you get off of Eastern Avenue, if anybody knows what I'm talking about, right down by the poop plant, you can close your eyes and know you're in that area. It smells so bad. If you go into that turn hot and your reaction is to go to the brake, you screwed it all up. And that goes for your car. So, let's look at the rest of it. When you downshift for a hill, you should do so after you start down the hill. It is over. Let me say this, folks. In a commercial vehicle, if you have gears, you press the hill and you're right here, and you try to shift, you're in a bad way. And I'm going to show you videos that will give you all the insight you need on it. Everything we do is before the event. So if I know, if right here I'm tugging myself up the hill in 2nd or 3rd gear, but I know that I need to be 1 gear lower before I go down, I got to shift here, not here. I got to shift on this side of the hill, not here. Right? Now, same thing goes for an automatic. The bus over there. Can you shift downshift in that bus? That's an automatic. Can you downshift? Yeah.
You can?
We have drive. Oh yeah, we have drive. 3, 2,
Right,
1.
3, 2,
Oh, yeah,
right.
yeah.
The whole problem here is what's between drive and 3? Neutral. Bad. So you can't pass neutral on the hill. If you pass neutral on the hill, you're going to get neutral lockout, and now you're what we call true runaway. You're going to be running down the hill, and you're not under the power of the transmission. You're relying 100% on the foot brake. Probably it's not going to work too well. You're going to smoke your brakes, and then you're into that looking out the window for another option to stop, looking for the escape ramp. All that starts to come about. What do you do that? You know it's a little much. All right, so now here, when you double clutch